Okay, so welcome back from your break. Well, I certainly took a break. We're going to do part 2 of this video, and we're going to focus on white supremacy in the Americas, right? This is North America, Central America, and South America. I want to talk briefly about this picture here. It's a white boy, right, wearing what's called the MAGA hat, or Make America Great hat. That is a phrase from Donald Trump, and he is smiling at a Native American man, or indigenous person, I should say, who is protesting, right? Some people say this was very disrespectful. Some people even say this was racist. Okay, but they say he is only smiling, right? But we have to learn that you bring systems with you, okay? It is not lost on us that he is a white boy, right? A lot of power, who has a lot of power, right? And smiling at someone who has no more power. Okay, and technically, this is the land of Native Americans that was stolen, right? So it may seem like an innocent picture, but actually it is not. It has a lot of history, and there is racism here. Okay, we will discuss that more. The ideas that go into this picture in this section. Yes. Excuse me. So, before you conquer the world, right? If you are going to murder people, if you're going to kill people, if you are going to enslave people, right? You first have to believe that you are doing good work. Okay, you are even doing God's work. Right, that you have the right to do this. So you create an idea or ideology. And you begin that, and white Europeans created the idea of white supremacy. Okay, and white supremacy is the belief that white people are superior to those of other races and thus should dominate them, right? They should be the leader of everyone, okay? Because they are closer to God and they are more human. The belief favors the maintenance and defense of any power and privilege held by white people. Okay, so sadly, white supremacy is still in operation. We still believe in white supremacy, okay? Because this idea is 500 years old. It's very hard to get rid of it. So, next slide. Let me see if I finished everything I had to say about that. They also created using what they called science back then. It is not really science, but white people around this time, this was around 1400s, 1500s, created the racial hierarchy, right? Hierarchy, again, meaning top to bottom, okay? And this is how the racial hierarchy is now. It's very similar to how it was then. Notice how white people are always on top, right? You have the world powers, England, France, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Netherlands, and you have sort of lesser whites of Europe, right? Italy, Greece, I put Greece twice, Poland, and Romania. Oh, excuse me. No. Okay, lots of pictures. I gave it away. Yeah, and of course, Asian people were ranked second, right? But even in Asia, there is a hierarchy. The first ones are, of course, the light-skinned Asians. Notice how here there is colorism here, right? The lighter the skin over here, the better. The darker skin goes downwards, okay? So the lower you are, the darker your skin is. So yes, China, Japan, this hierarchy is still around. These sort of countries generally look down on people from the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, who also looks down on Indian people, Bangladeshi people, Pakistani people, right? Because they have darker skin, right? And they have less money, blah, 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 right? But generally, the hierarchy is like this, okay? And then MENA, I put here Middle East and North Africa. Africa also has a hierarchy, right? Where the Northern Africans, countries like Egypt, Morocco, sort of looks down on Sub-Saharan Africa, Black people from Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Somalia, okay? So there's global hierarchy, and within each race, there's also a smaller hierarchy, okay? I put the indigenous people here. In reality, Black people are really at the bottom, right? But the indigenous people I put there, what did I say? Because they are no longer considered part of civilization, and many of them have been killed through genocide, okay, and they've been wiped out. But notice this information is not new to you. This is not news. You are not learning anything new from this slide. You know this. I know this. We all know this. Okay? If you are a Korean person, how are white people treated in Korea, for example, versus how are Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Vietnamese, Thai, Philippine people treated in Korea? Very different, right? So there's difference in treatment even in Korean society. Yes, I think I said, but again, keep this in mind. We know this hierarchy very well, okay? This is not new information. And I put some pictures up here, which I will go over. I think this is the slave trade in Africa, where Black people were enslaved. Okay, and this is a picture of, I believe, a Native American woman being murdered by a white man while her child is on the ground. Yeah. Okay, the next one. Okay, we are now going to watch a video. Okay, it is a trailer for a 4-part series called Exterminate All the Brutes. Okay, exterminate meaning kill. Brutes means animal. Okay, so this is the idea of white supremacy. Okay, kill all the animals, because if you are not white and if you are not Christian, you must be an animal, and it is okay to kill you. Okay, so that is the title of the series, Exterminate All the Brutes, okay? Another thing that they use is own up, the idea of admitting something, okay? We have to own up to the things we did in history, okay? Let's see if there are other things we need to go over. Okay, let's look at the trailer.
Here is the story we have been told in Columbus's travel journal. They were discovered. But there is no such thing as alternative facts. There is something we need to talk about. 3 words that summarize the whole history of humanity: civilization, colonization, extermination. This is the origin of the ideology of white supremacy. This is me in the middle, and I just want to understand. Why do I bring myself into this story? Because I am an immigrant from a shithole country. Neutrality is not an option.
So you best duck, or get out the way.
It's time to own up to a basic truth. A story of survival and violence. We know now what their task truly is. Exterminate all the brutes. It's not knowledge we lack. You already know enough. What is missing is the courage to understand what we know.
We're miles apart,
Who are we?
but safe to dream.
What if, from the beginning, the story was told the wrong way?
Shine your light.
The nightmare is buried deep in our consciousness. So deep that we do not recognize it. And over the centuries, we lost our bearings. Because the past has a future we never expect.
Okay. So let's go over some ideas that goes with that. So it says here, in the trailer, right? This idea, one lie that Europe tells is that Europe discovered the rest of the world, okay? This is not true. How can you discover a place when there are already people living there? But because of white supremacy, okay, people living in North America were animals. They are not people. Okay, so you can go there and discover. Okay, another one is. It says in the trailer, it is not knowledge we lack. You already know enough. What is missing is the courage to understand what we know. Who are we? Okay. This is a very good quote because you know, I know, we all generally know what white people did. Okay, in the last 500 years, the evidence is still around us. Right? But we are not confronting the system of racism. Okay? And yeah, I think it's courses like this, it's videos like this, where we systemize, we clarify the knowledge, and that is kind of the aim of this video. And what if from the beginning the story was told the wrong way? So generally, the history we are told is from the perspective of Europe and white people. Okay, that white people are the best, that white people discovered the world, that white people were good in murdering continents of people and enslaving another continent, right? And looting and stealing from Asia, from another continent, okay? And these are all good things, they say, but this is a very white story. This is what Europeans say, but this is not true. So this is what if from the beginning the story was told from the wrong way? And it was told the wrong way. Many people still believe the wrong story, right? Let's go over the video again and freeze frame, and we will discuss it, okay? So Native American woman, okay, confrontation with the natives. This is very similar to the picture I showed of Magellan and Lapu-Lapu in the Philippines. They did this all over the world where ships show up. Okay, and this is later on when Americans also became the new face of white supremacy. Okay, so we associate colonization, civilization, extermination. And notice here, this is kind of like an angel figure, right? She's sort of like the Christian figure, manifest destiny. White people have the right to educate and to convert. And if you do not go with white people, you will be killed, okay? And they are doing the Lord's work. They are doing good work. So he says the word shithole country. That quote is from Donald Trump, right? Calling underdeveloped countries shithole countries. So this is what I believe to be sort of an internment camp of people migrating to the US. Okay, and they were put in cages. So they are mainly from South America, Central America, Mexico, and these are refugees from other countries. And look, they were put into cages. Children too, babies even. This is the racial hierarchy we were talking about. Exterminate all the brutes, kill all the animals, right? Again, it's talking about, I think, mainly white people to own up. You know, it's time to own up to what you did and to face it, to admit it. So we can move forward in history. Stop denying that it happened or that it was somehow good. It wasn't. But it shaped our world. These are sort of students or indigenous children being indoctrinated or being told the white way in white schools and in camps. Many of them died. Okay, there was a picture there of cotton, right? That is. This is a reference. The cotton is reference to slavery when the United States brought black people from Africa, enslaved them so they can plant cotton to make money. You know, but that is a symbol of slavery there. And did you see the bomb, right? Then this is now in Asia, right? I think you saw the picture of the atomic bomb that was dropped in Japan. Many people believe that if Japanese were white, then maybe the US would not have dropped the atomic bomb on them. But because they are not white, right, less than white, it was okay to kill innocent people. And then, very briefly, there's also a map of, I believe, the slave trade, right? Very quickly, there, right? That was many sort of enslaved Africans being brought to what is called the New World, or South America, North America, Central America, and finally this, right? A black woman holding a gun to a white man. Very powerful image. We'll talk more, I guess, about the idea of dystopia, right? That idea of, what if you did to us what we did to you? We call that dystopia, but to everyone else, that's reality. That's one version of this famous tweet. I saw a post that said, dystopia is a white people word for what if all that ish happened to us and I feel seen. So dystopia means the world is wrong. There is something wrong with the world, okay? And white people think that dystopia is like in science fiction or horror movies or something's wrong with the world. But if you are a person of color, particularly if you are a black person, you already live in a dystopia, okay? Dystopia is not something you imagine. It is reality. But for white people, they have to create science fiction and imaginary worlds to think that they can come up and invent dystopia. We say, as people of color, dystopia already exists, and it is the world we live in. okay, that you created, to be frank. Many white people are threatened by that idea. It's never going to happen, but yeah. Anyway, so I've unpacked the meaning of that video, right? And these, please remember these thoughts. Yeah, again, this was the map I showed earlier. Okay, so in the whole world, right? The indigenous population of these countries were killed, gone, killed, okay? Killed here. Australia, killed here, okay? And they brought, Europe here, brought enslaved Africans, right, to South America, to North America, right, to work on cotton fields so they can make money, free labor, okay? There are also many different places they've killed many people. Okay, so what are the things that uphold white supremacy, which is also based on the idea of capitalism, right? So again, how white supremacy was created in the last 500 years, these are the things that support them. Okay, the first one is genocide. Again, killing continents of people, North America, Central America, South America, Australia, okay, parts of Africa. White people usually say, but China committed genocide and African tribes committed genocide against each other. That is true, and they have to answer for that. But the genocides that Europe did, all right, what is impactful? It created a new world order, the same world order we are still in, okay? And yeah, it's 500 years old. It has the biggest impact, okay, because it affected the whole world. All right, so that is your responsibility to know and to grapple with. Do not point to other countries or to other people. They have their own questions to answer. Answer yours. That's what I have to say. The second one is slavery, right? Enslaving African people. And war. Mainly, this is a religious war, Christians against Muslims. War makes a lot of money, okay, a lot. I think that the United States, through war, makes a lot of money. We need war for our economy to keep going, okay? So these three, and then of course, cultural indoctrination. How do we say this word? Okay, let's say it correctly. It's indoctrination. Not just Asian people, everyone else. Okay, but yes, you can say that white people did not conquer Korea. In a way, they did through cultural indoctrination. Indoctrination. Korean culture is very American. But yeah, remember, these are your vocabulary words: genocide, slavery, war, and cultural indoctrination. Indoctrination. Okay, next one. Excuse me, some water. So again, we're talking about the genocide that happened in the Americas. It happened between 1491 and 1691. Europeans killed 95% of the indigenous population of North America, Central America, and South America, okay? Of the 145 million indigenous people in North, Central, and South America, 130 million were killed, through European diseases and through massacre, through slaughter, okay? It was a hostile takeover. So it looked like this. White people tend to say that it was even. It was white people versus Native Americans, and they were at war. Native Americans or indigenous people were fighting for their lives. Okay, they were fighting to survive, and white people just wanted resource. They just wanted land. Okay. They were not fighting for survival. So in this picture, it's called the Marias Massacre, Montana, the greatest slaughter of Indians or Native Americans ever made by U.S. troops. So this is later on in history. This is the U.S. now, America, killing Native Americans. It says here, the Marias Massacre is a little-known one-sided incident in Montana in January 23, 1870. Though receiving little attention in history, the massacre, which killed some 200 Paisan Indians, primarily women, mainly women, children, was described by one company commander as the greatest slaughter of Indians ever made by U.S. troops. So America is very proud of this. We like that we killed many Native Americans, okay? This one is in the 16th century. This is not in America. This is in an island, I believe. It's called Hispaniola. Right? Flemish Protestant Theodore de Bry of Las Casas, right? Depicting the Spanish atrocities during the conquest of Hispaniola. So this is Spain, okay? Bartolome wrote, they erected certain gibbets, large but low made so that their feet almost reached, the ground, every one of which was so ordered as to bear the 13 persons in honor and reverence, as they said blasphemously, of our Redeemer and his 12 apostles, under which they made a fire to burn the ashes whilst hanging on them. Okay, so this is like they use religion, the idea of the 13 apostles, right? 13, the men of Jesus, including him, makes 13, right? 12 apostles plus Jesus is 13. So they made it that 13 people were hanged. So this is, again, using religion as an excuse to kill people. Okay, and again, the baby being smashed against the wall. Yeah, this is the history of white people. Next one. So, and using religion or Christianity, as I've said, Europe forced native populations to believe that they were animals and needed to be saved by God and white people. Unconsciously, we still believe this today, right? Korea looks up still to Europe. All countries see Europe as the savior. We want to be rich like Europe. We want to be beautiful like white people, right? All things that white people do, we want to be that way. So we all unconsciously still believe this until today. We want to look like Europeans. Yeah. So yeah, again, this is a white pastor and then the indigenous children here. So we're going to get into something that's very graphic, right? Very disturbing. This is the killing of children, okay? This was a news that came in 2020. Many mass graves of indigenous children were found in Canada. In 2020, over 6,000 children were killed, okay? In 2020, many of the children killed were between ages 7 and 15. Let's watch 2 videos.
Cultural genocide. What comes to your mind when you hear these 2 words? I'm sure most of you would think of Nazi Germany and the Jews, or China and the Uyghurs, or Myanmar and the Rohingyas. What about Canada? The beacon of multiculturalism. Why don't we ever think of Canada? This is a country where a cultural genocide of indigenous population went on till the 1990s, where indigenous children were separated from their families and subjected to forced assimilation at residential schools. Do you know how many children died in this genocide? 6,000. What's the proof, you may ask? And we will tell you about mass graves that continue to be unearthed to this day. The latest case is from British Columbia, where the remains of 215 children have been discovered buried on the grounds of a former indigenous school. 215 children, some of them as young as 3 years old. It's a heartbreaking discovery and a grim reminder of Canada's shameful history. Who were these children? Who operated the school? And where does the accountability lie? With the Canadian government or the Catholic Church? Our next report explores.
So, there's a second part to this story where they found more. This is the second video of this.
Now to Canada, where horrors from a different era have returned to haunt the country. Another mass grave of children has been unearthed. School children. And this is the third one since May. 182 unmarked graves have been found in British Columbia. More than 1,000 mass graves have been found in Canada. The findings have led to an angry backlash. But neither the Justin Trudeau government nor the Catholic Church wants to take responsibility. Here's a report.
The Indigenous communities of Canada are living a nightmare on repeat. In recent weeks, more than 1,000 unmarked graves of their loved ones have been found. Another 182 graves have now been discovered at former Indigenous schools, the third such find since May. The remains are believed to be of students between 7 to 15 years old. Some bodies were buried in shallow graves only 3 and 4 feet deep. They were found near Cranbrook in British Columbia, at the St. Eugene's Mission Residential School. From late 1800s to late 1990s, more than 150,000 Indigenous children were forced to attend residential schools. These schools were operated by the Catholic Church on the behalf of the federal government. These schools were a front for a forced...
So we'll stop there for, it's very heavy stuff, right? These children who are supposed to be educated and, they ended up dying. They were murdered by the schools. And this is, it's cultural genocide. These are some vocabulary words that we should know. Mass graves, right? Forced assimilation and cultural genocide. This is what Europe has done, and their excuse is Christianity. In the case of the videos, it was Catholicism. They were saying they were doing God's work, but they ended up killing many, many children. So on the next section, we are going to do a quiz, okay, for this section. These are your vocabulary words. Please write them down in your notebook. Write them down in your notebook. I will go over them. You can say it with me. The first one is empire. Okay, empire. Second one is colonization. 3 is white supremacy. 4 is racial hierarchy. 5, genocide. 6 is slavery. 7 is war. Okay. 8 is cultural indoctrination. Indoctrination. I keep saying that again. Cultural indoctrination. This is what Japan did in Korea. When Korea was under Japanese rule, they did a cultural indoctrination where Koreans were forced to speak Japanese and learn Japanese history, okay? They were also committing what's called cultural genocide, okay? Number 9 is exterminate. Number 10 is own up or admit. Number 11 is mass graves. Okay? Number 12 is forced assimilation. Number 13 is cultural genocide. Okay? And number 14 is indigenous population. Okay. So those are your vocabulary words. Please write them down. I will give you 90 seconds to write them down. Copy it in your notebook now. Okay, starting now. Okay. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, and that's it. Please study these words for the quiz. Okay, study these words for the quiz. Okay, and that's it for today. Thank you. Get ready for the quiz next time. Okay? All right, bye-bye. See you next time.